A reading from the Gospel of Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you, when people revile you and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. In the same way they persecuted the prophets who went before you. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Blessed are the peacemakers.
So they should be members of the Royal British Legion and the Royal Air Force Association will understand the importance of commemoration. So I imagine will anyone who has stood here at this memorial in November on Remembrance Sunday year by year. Memory, remembering and commemoration are at the very heart of Christianity, but also feature significantly in other faith traditions as well. We would do well to remember that the First World War engulfed people of many different faiths and cultures. Whether in solemn silence or in the telling of their stories, we affirm our connection to our ancestors when we gather. We keep their memory alive and we honour it. We do this as much for ourselves as for them. It has been said that the people who forget their history lose their identity. People that forget their history are also more likely to have to repeat it without even realising it. That is why it is good to see the exhibition by local school children in Burnham Park Hall. The children of Britain today need to continue learning about the First War and all that followed from it, so they can begin to understand something of who we are. It is perhaps hard for us to imagine our way back to that long, hot Edwardian summer 100 years ago. How so many young men, from Old Etonians to Burnham ploughhands, marched off in good cheer to unimaginable horror. How so many of them never came back in one piece, if they came back at all. It's hard to imagine our way back into that world, because the First War is more than just a scar on our collective memory. It remains a living wound, a chasm that separates what went before from what came after. It was perhaps the greatest shaping event of British history since the Civil War. We continue to live with its consequences today. Britain, along with other European countries, lost the best of a generation. Young men, and some not so young, whose skills and talents in other theatres of human endeavour were left forever unrealised. The British Empire was left fatally weakened. Other empires collapsed. The Ottoman Empire in the Middle East was divided under the now infamous Sykes-Picot Agreement. Hard though it may be to grasp, the carnage unfolding in Iraq and Syria today, and also in Gaza, is in part a direct consequence of the First World War. Today, tens of thousands of Christians in the Middle East are fleeing for their lives, something that last happened in 1918. We live with the consequences today. Likewise, the rise of fascist or communist regimes in Russia, in Germany and in Italy was propelled by the First War and led to the more devastating conflict of the Second. Current issues around Russia and Eastern Europe are also distant echoes from the Great War. We live with its consequences today. And so we remember, so as not to forget, so that the people, and politicians in particular, might be reminded of how easy it is to start wars and how impossible it is to control their consequences. Look at the smoke rising now over Libya, Gaza, Iraq or the Ukraine. We must continually ask ourselves, are our actions wise? Do they promote war or peace? Prior to the Great War, there was a deeply held belief that we, the people of Western Europe, and Britain in particular, represented the highest in human progress to date. Our forms of government, our science, our industry, our learning surpassed all who had gone before us. We were the contemporary bearers of civilization. 4 years of brutal trench warfare in which the soldiers of civilized and Christian Europe and other nations killed each other in ever greater numbers shattered this dream. Old authority, the wisdom of the elders, the certainty of the pre-war years were all swept away. Nihilism moved from the margins to the centre, and we still live with an element of that too today. The modern assertion that everything is relative, that there is no overarching viewpoint and that anything goes, is also a child of the questioning of certainties that the First War unleashed. The fallen of Flanders and Gallipoli continue to haunt us. And what of the churches? I speak of them because this event has been coordinated by Burnham churches together. In the immediate aftermath of the war, the Swiss pastor and theologian Karl Barth launched a frontal broadside on what he saw as the error and complacency of the church in the West. We had, he claimed, made the fatal mistake of assuming that Christ and European culture were the same thing, that the job was finished, so to speak. All we had to do was get everyone else to be just like us. We had forgotten that Christianity is unfinished business, a work scarcely begun. It remains unfinished business. In relation to this, and nowadays particularly, we often hear contradictory views about religion and war. So, for example, it is said that there is no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. Yet for many, the experience of war destroyed their faith. Or how often today do we hear the easy assertion that religion causes war? If only we could be rid of it, then universal peace would no doubt ensue immediately. Of course it would not. For those who wish to elevate science to the new religion, it is salutary to remember that the horrors of 20th century warfare were a consequence of the appliance of science to the art of killing. For those here today who are Christians, for those of other faiths, and for those of no faith, I say again that there remains unfinished business. The fallen of Flanders and Gallipoli continue to haunt us. their ghosts surround us. They want to know that they did not die in vain. They want to know if we have learnt the lesson.
We stand to sing our third hymn, Dear Lord and Father of Mankind.
Beside the Syrian sea, the gracious calling of the Lord, let us, like them without a word, rise up and follow thee. Rise up and follow thee. Sabbath rest by Galilee, O come of hills above, where Jesus knelt to share with thee the silence of eternity, interpreted by love, interpreted by love. With that deep hush subduing all our words and works that drown the tender whisper of thy call, as noiseless let thy blessing fall, as fell thy manna down, as fell thy manna down. Drop thy still dews of quietness, till all our striving cease. Take from our souls the strain and stress, and let our ordered lives confess the beauty of thy peace, the beauty of thy peace. Breathe through the heat of our desire thy coolness and thy balm. Let sense be dumb, let flesh retire, speak through the earthquake, wind and fire.